we've seen quite a number of cases of malware on the Arch user repository, the AUR. Now, the maintainers there do their best job trying to deal with these problems as much as possible. But oftentimes, the way something is found is somebody downloads it, bad things happen, and, well, you have a problem from there. So the best way to deal with these problems is if you see something weird, if you see something a little bit suspicious, it's a duplicate of a package, it's a package that's named like another one, but probably shouldn't be. If something seems a little bit off, if something is concerning, report it. If it's fine, if there's no issue at all, hey, fine. But you might have found something that was a serious problem. We all know that when we install something from the AUR, we should check it, we should verify it. But how does an AUR package actually work, and how would one go about reviewing it? What should you look for to see if something is a little bit off? And this post goes exactly into that. How to review an AUR package. Now, if you want to be pedantic and if you want to argue about stuff, it's technically not a package repo. Put simply, it is a collection of packaging scripts, package build files created by users. It is build scripts that you run on your system. It is not package software. Does anyone care? Does it actually matter? No, because everybody interacts with the AUR as if it's a package system. Anyone who creates an account on aur.linux.org can upload an Arch Linux packaging script. Granted, one doesn't already exist for the same name. There are some rules around what you can submit. You can't do duplicates or existing AUR packages or things that only you use. It has to be something that would generally be something other people want to install, but for the most part, anything is available. Each package has one primary maintainer, by default, whoever uploaded the packaging script first. But that can change over time, either by that maintainer transferring responsibility themselves, or by moderators removing the maintainer for various reasons. For example, if somebody has a package and then maybe they sabotage the package, they're not going to be allowed to sabotage that package. Their maintainership will be removed, and if someone else wants to take over, then they get to take over. That might sound dumb, and you might not really understand why someone would do that, but there have been cases of someone who is a developer of an application, they also make the AUR package, and then for whatever reason, they don't want an AUR package to exist any longer, and then go and do something stupid with it. It's not always, like, crazy malicious, it's not always malware, but people want to keep using the package, so you can't have someone just destroying the package. Installing from AUR packaging scripts is not as simple as installing from the main packaging repos. You can run make package on a package build and install the resulting package. But sometimes those package builds depend on other packages only found in the AUR, and this is why people use an AUR helper. You can go and grab packages that are in the main repos using make package, but any other additional AUR things, well, then you need to build those as well, and that's a whole mess. Just use Peru, just use Yay, and it makes your life much easier. Whilst these tools are useful, the main issue is they often don't show the package build, or they make it easy to ignore the package build and hide the package build, where you can just install the package and not have to acknowledge the fact that you're doing something from the AUR. Now, this right here is a package build. This is just an example package build. Let's have a look at a real one. This is for a package called lf-git. This is the actual AUR page. If you go to view package build on any single thing on the AUR, you're going to be able to see it, and here is the file. If you want to go see a change log of changes made to the package build, you can also see that here as well, and this might be useful in cases where maintainers change or updates maybe have like a bad update, things like that, but generally what you want to see is the current version. It's not that AUR helpers can't show you these, it's just in a lot of cases, it's not enabled by default, or there's some like easy way to skip past it. But this is the entire file, this is all you need to see. But what does what you see here actually mean? Now, most of the fields in the package build, frankly, don't really matter to safety. It's just background metadata stuff. It's stuff that you can kind of ignore. It's important to know what it means, but it's not going to be dangerous if you don't. You may see additional properties as well. For example, in lf-git, there's also an underscore package name alongside the main package name. You can define other things in here as well, but the main package name, that's the name of the package. Pretty simple. Package ver is the version of the software. There's also a package rel. This is the release number for the package. Usually, this is just going to be set to 1. Basically, what this is the version of the package build. So sometimes there might be a package build version for version 1.0, and then an update to the package build. In that case, package rel is going to be set to 2. This is just to make sure that even though there might not be an update to the software, you still get the update to the package build. Package desk is a description of the package. This is also shown on the main page for the AUR package as well. The URL is where the application can be found, where you can find more information like documentation and things like that. Basically, it is the homepage for the application, also shown right here. In most cases, that's going to be a website, like a homepage website, or maybe the repo. Sort of depends on the project. License, self-explanatory. Install is usually not present in a package build. If present, it refers to the name of a script included alongside the package build file with specific bash functions that get executed when the package is installed, upgraded, or removed. It is run from Pacman and therefore as root. This is one of those places where if they are using install, make sure you know what that file is doing. In the case of lfget, it doesn't have it, and most other packages are probably not going to have it as well. In most cases, it doesn't need to be there. For a lot of things, there's usually a better way to do it. Source is where the source code, or in some cases the binary files, are coming from, along with any patches that might be applied to the source code. Now, sometimes it might be a little bit confusing to see what's going on here, so for lfget, it's not a bad package, it's just very over-engineered. The source is coming from this git URL. URL comes from this URL here. This also then comes from go URL, which takes you to the GitHub. It's not bad, it's not weird, it's just extra work that you don't need to do. Then we have the SHA-256 sums. These are the numbers we all know we should be checking, and we never actually do. This is basically a way to take a file and another file, and then compare if they're the same file. Basically, it does some fancy maths and says, okay, here's the number for this file, here's the number for this file, and if they're the same file, the fancy math will give you the same number. This only works if you actually go and check the original files. If you just accept the numbers they give you, you can definitely fudge some numbers here. And you're also going to see a lot of packages might include them, but then also include skip. In this case, they don't even have the numbers. Skip basically means don't check the numbers. Because a lot of people just don't check the numbers, and that's kind of become the standard now. Here's another one. This is the git package. It includes the numbers, but it also includes a skip. Next, we have the build functions, and the problem with the build functions is they can run arbitrary shell commands. So again, going back to LF, all of these, this is a normal package. Everything here is clean. But all of these are just commands that you can run on your shell. There is nothing special about it being in a package build, which means that you can do some bad things. Starting with the prepare function. This function is expected to make all the necessary changes to the source code, such as applying patch files or editing out certain lines with sed. In certain ecosystems such as Node.js and Rust, it also downloads the dependencies. Ideally, all steps following prepare no longer need network access. Ideally, but they are not restricted from doing so. And you don't actually need to just do that in the prepare function. Really, you could do a lot more. You could do anything you wanted in there. But if it is, immediate red flag. Then we get to build, which as the name suggests, builds the package. This is the place to call configure scripts, compilers, and whatever else produces the binaries involved. This is generally the part that takes time. If you're building something that's like a big C++ project, yeah. If it's something like a Python script, for example, it's a little bit different from, compiling everything. Something like lf written in Go, this is a pretty simple function. It's just doing a basic export, going into a directory, Nothing at all that's weird here. Oftentimes, you'll also see a check function. This is basically to verify that the package was built correctly. This kind of depends on the package, oftentimes isn't actually included. It's usually going to run unit tests and things like that, but that part is optional. For Git, it is available, but it really depends on what the package is, what the package maintainer is trying to do. In a lot of cases, users don't really care about the checks anyway, because if it doesn't work, they just uninstall it, but this is something that should be done if it is available. Finally is the packaging function. This is the only one that is technically required. All of the others can be omitted. This function moves the files generated in the build step into their final positions relative to some package directory. Many ecosystems provide an equivalent of make install for this, which makes life easier, but often you'll simply have to spell this out. Again, this is the LF package. It's just moving things into the correct location. The git package is a little bit more complicated here, but is basically doing the same thing. And again, all of these are just regular shell functions. Anything you can run in your shell, you can also run in the package build. Now that we know how it works, here's what to look out for. Firstly, the sources array. Where is the source code coming from? If it's a package like LF, it should be coming from the GitHub for LF. If it's something like Git, where is it coming from? If it's some, a web browser, if it's anything else, is it coming from the place that the source code for that application is coming from? And especially so if it's a binary. Is that binary coming from the official release location? If it says it's a Git release, is it actually the Git release? Is it pulling from the right branch? Or is it grabbing a tagged release? Now, that's usually not going to be something malicious, but it's weird, and that's still a packaging error. Also, it's not just going to be source code for the application, it is also going to include patches sometimes as well. Sometimes for something on the AUR, it needs to be patched in a certain way to work properly on Arch Linux, or maybe the developers, for whatever reason, want to include some patches. Are those patches legitimate patches? Are they coming from a place that makes sense for those patches? And what do those patches actually do? In the majority of cases, totally okay, nothing is out of the ordinary. But if something seems off, if it's coming from a weird location, if it's not the place that makes sense for the source code, why is it coming from there? If something seems off, ask about it. Ask if there's a problem, ask in the comments, ask on Reddit, ask in the IRC for the AUR, ask somewhere that has Arch users, and if it's fine, it's fine. If it's not, you've just identified a problem. Check if the build steps make sense. Prepare, build, check, and package functions are running code that is going to be executed on your machine. It's running shell scripts. You can launch anything from a shell script. It could launch another application. It could go and run a Python script. It can do anything on your system. Make sure it is not downloading things it shouldn't be downloading, although some ecosystems may require it in other places. The commands run by the script should be obvious packaging commands, and any custom scripts should come from the upstream repos. Often the packaging script matches the how to install, but often it doesn't, as package maintainers generally call build tools directly rather than call wrapper scripts. If there is something which seems weird, if it's running some base 64 encoded command, that's probably wrong. It probably shouldn't be doing that. If it's deleting files off of your system, it shouldn't probably be doing that unless it's deleting things related to the packaging. Make sure it's not running anything that seems off. And again, if it seems off, ask about it. Also, build scripts should not run sudo. No running sudo, don't do that. Sometimes it's there as a packaging error. Other times, it's trying to trick you into running something, and that, obviously, is bad. Like I said before, scrutinize the install scripts. These run as root, they can do anything on your system. Make sure you know what they're doing, because these are going to be run when the package is installed, upgraded, or removed. So this means it can do a lot of damage. Also pay attention if it's installing any new Pac-Man hooks. Most of the time, that doesn't need to be run. There are very few things on your system that should run every time you update your system. Things like updating your mirror list, installing some kernel modules, things like that. But most things have no reason to be touching those. If you don't understand it, don't use it. Now, most of us are still not going to verify things, but even well-intentioned code can do bad things on your system. My favorite example of this is this script from Steam, where if you moved your Steam directory, it didn't properly handle the variable, and that variable was empty. And when this variable here is empty, you're doing rm-rf/star, which kind of nuked your entire system. Now, this is from like 10 years ago, but again, even well-intentioned code can go wrong. When something might be malicious and you don't understand it, ask. I've said it a couple of times already, but just ask. The author here suggests the IRC. I recommend the forums. I recommend Reddit, because those tend to be a lot more active than the IRC. But try that as well. Ask on the mailing list. Ask anywhere the Arch people hang out. If you don't understand it, and on Reddit, you're probably going to get downvoted if it's nonsense. But if it's not nonsense, well, it might also turn into a video that I make. All of this probably feels a little bit too simple and maybe a little bit unsafe, and that kind of makes sense because the AUR was made at a very different time. A time where the internet wasn't as full of malware, as full of hostile actors, when it just started as a basic FTP server that anyone could upload files to. That's not a system that anyone would propose in 2026. There are improvements to be had for sure. The moderation system is somewhat archaic. The contribution workflow is not what people would expect. The licensing of PKGBUILD files after the original author is gone is messy. A pull request-like system is often suggested, something like you have with the regular Arch Linux packages now. I think that would be a real improvement. In general, the system needs more love. That's what you get with open source projects. If no one wants to work on it, it gets no work. And that's okay. That's just how it is. TLDR, pay attention to the sources, pay attention to the patches, pay attention to the build scripts, pay attention to the install scripts, and hopefully, most of the time, things will be good. When it's not good, well, even if you don't know, report it to someone, and if it's not good, it can be removed. If it is good, you just look a little bit stupid, and that's okay. So, let me know. Have you ever run across a malicious package on the AUR? Most of you, the answer is probably no, but maybe it's happened, and if it did happen, what did you do? I'd love to know. So let me know your thoughts down below. Go like the video, go subscribe as well, and if you really like the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon subscribe Daily Therapy, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and it's gotten really warm in here. I might have to go turn the air conditioner on. Like this.